This video came about because one of the questions in the Q&A video I did recently was about what kind of RV we would buy. So I wanted to talk about our process for researching and deciding on what RV would best fit our needs. We knew nothing about RVs at all. Not what kind were out there, or what sizes, what they came with or without. Total newbies. But you have to start somewhere. So I did what I always do. I researched. And I researched some more. I reviewed articles, did internet searches. I read discussions on RV forums. I even created this YouTube channel. And in so doing, I found friends that have helped us through this process. But we were so new, we didn't even know what questions to ask. Was it all about price, or maybe floor plans, or size, or chassis, or types of travel, or a host of other things we weren't even thinking of? It took a long time to understand what the real question was. How can we know which is the right RV for our needs? Not its price or how used or new it was, not its styles or its size or whatever, but the right RV. You see, it wouldn't matter if we could afford the RV but ended up hating it because of, outdated look or the way it handled driving. And if we got into major debt buying a new one, we'd never be happy because of the debt load. We needed to know what our values, our needs, our absolutes were. So this was our process. Ignore costs, determine values, deal breakers, money matters, final obstacles. So the first step was to let go. Let go of limiting ourselves based on our finances. We pretended that price was not a consideration. We could buy whatever we wanted, regardless of cost.
I'm rich! Rich! I'm rich!
Once we removed the money issue from the table, we removed the limits that went with that. We could look at every model and every style at every level. So now everything was open. We could buy the biggest, most expensive model around. We knew that wasn't real, but not worrying about money allowed us to really analyze what values we placed on the RV itself. What were our needs? What things were we not willing to give up? And how would we approach traveling in an RV? People who are going to live in an RV have different needs than someone just using it for weekends, or someone who may use it a few months at a time. What was our way? We didn't consider whether the RV was new or used. That has nothing to do with how we are going to use the RV or what we must have inside an RV to make us happy with the purchase. And anyway, our needs and our finances would determine affordability. We narrowed down our needs to 2 deal breakers, things that we would not do without. We decided we must have an AC that lasts through the night. We have a dog that may be in that van for extended periods, and we want her safe and healthy, cool during our travels in the hot summers we plan to be in. We also needed a van that was less than 22 feet long if possible, because we want to travel in towns with museums and parks and shops. This means we needed to park in regular parking spots and not have to deal with searching forever for a space. There are other things we're interested in, of course, things like good Wi-Fi and ample storage space, but those 2 items are deal breakers. If the RV can't provide those items, we won't be looking at them. And it's fine if you don't agree. You need to decide on your own deal breakers. But we've made the decision that those are things we won't do without. Since we are looking at smaller length vehicles, we pretty much decided early on we wanted a Class B. And these are built mainly on ProMasters and Transit and Sprinters. For various reasons I'm just not going to get into, we decided we weren't happy with the build quality of a ProMaster. I'm not saying Transits don't have issues or Sprinters are somehow perfect, magical. Just that the ProMaster seemed, well, less in many ways. Please feel free to disagree. That's perfectly fine. Like I said, everyone has different needs and desires. Just so happens, ours is a desire for a Transit. As you may know, Sprinters use diesel, and we are just not big fans. Gasoline is readily available, and you never quite know how much of that diesel is actually biofuel, which is an issue with Sprinters. This image of 20% biodiesel is one I took in Texas, and that's a gasoline-producing state. But even they can have high concentrations of biodiesel in their fuel. I can't imagine how difficult it would be to find lower concentrations in other states where I've heard 20% biodiesel is mandated. Is mandated. Is mandated. What do you do then? And I know a lot of people say they don't have a problem at all finding 5% biodiesel, but it's just a hassle we don't want to deal with. So until Sprinters can handle higher concentrations of biodiesel, or this country gets rid of biodiesel, Sprinters are probably out of the running for our kind of RV chassis. So for Class B, the Transit seems the way to go, but I quickly found out there isn't much out there built on a Transit chassis. Leisure Travel has the Wonder, and they are good builds, but it's almost 25 feet long, which is longer than we want. And we don't really love the layout options anyway. Pleasureway has come out with the Ontour built on a Transit, and it is the right length and a superior build. But the battery system won't last through the night with AC on, so they are most probably out too. To make a long research story short, we're looking at a Coachman Beyond, which is built around a Transit, a Winnebago Travado, built around a ProMaster chassis, or the Embassy Traveler, which can be built on a Transit. The Embassy is built a little differently than the others, so I'm going to talk about them in a later video, so let's just stick with Beyond and Travado for now. So now comes the time where we can't pretend money isn't a factor.
Oh.
These designs are expensive when you require things like lithium batteries so the AC can last a long time. And you know what? This has really got me thinking lately about what we get for the money we spend. After so much time researching online and visiting dealers and making charts and cost estimates and just plain struggling on determining what we want and what we need, it finally dawned on me. These RVs aren't made to order. They're manufactured on what amounts to a manual assembly line. A stock item not built to order shouldn't cost $160,000 plus. That's like buying a $25 off-the-shelf dress shirt for $150. Might as well get a custom one made for $200. It doesn't seem right that something that has no customization should cost as much as these manufacturers think they should cost. It feels like you're just not getting what you pay for. Now, there are a few companies that make totally custom RVs, but they can start at a minimum of $200,000 and easily go beyond $300,000. I've seen some over $400,000. From what I can tell, you get what you pay for, but that kind of money just isn't in the budget. So, used is an alternative, and we have been exploring it. Now, the used RV market is pretty much a crapshoot. Sometimes they are really used and not taken care of. Or we find an RV is in good condition, but the appliances are outdated, or it doesn't have the options we're really looking for, especially the AC lasting through the night. In the end, although we may be able to afford a used RV, if it doesn't fulfill our requirements, we don't think we're going to be happy with what we get. This doesn't mean we're abandoning the used market. It's just that we haven't found the right fit yet. So for now, although our list is short, it isn't finalized. We have obstacles we have to face. Namely, college tuition, that's coming up, and making final decisions on what we may or may not need to give up in order to get an RV. Things like that. And that's okay for us. We are still working full time, so we can wait a bit before we actually commit to one RV or another. If you're in the market for an RV, I recommend doing your due diligence. Decide what you can't live without. Analyze how would you use that RV. Decide on a budget you can live with. Listen to others, sure, but don't treat it as an absolute truth. They are not you. So anything they say needs to be viewed with that in mind. This includes me. Our decisions are based on our way of thinking, our style of travel, how we live life. Your decisions should be based on yours and yours alone. Be seeing you.